You might know best-selling author John Green for his acclaimed novels, including The Fault in Our Stars, that was a huge hit, and Turtles All the Way Down. His new book is a work of nonfiction. It's called Everything is Tuberculosis, the history and persistence of our deadliest infection. It aims to raise awareness about the curable disease that continues to kill more than 1 million people each year. John, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. So you are an incredibly acclaimed novelist. You live in Indiana. What connection did you have to tuberculosis that you would write this book?
Well, I don't have a direct connection to tuberculosis, but in 2019, my wife and I were visiting Sierra Leone, and we met a young kid who had TB at the Laka Tuberculosis Hospital there, and it's really because I met Henry that I wrote this book. Tuberculosis is a huge issue, but when it gets humanized in one person's story, that's when you really understand the size of the problem.
Henry shares a name with your son.
He does.
Part of the connection, because you say you became obsessed with tuberculosis in 2019.
Yeah, I did. I came home from that trip obsessed with it. But Henry has the same name as my son. And when I met him, I thought he was the same age as my son, who was 9 at the time. But then when I was talking to the doctors afterward, they said, no, he's not 9, he's 17. His body's just been so emaciated by tuberculosis and malnutrition.
So there's a staggering contradiction at the center of the book, which is that we have the means to cure cases of tuberculosis, and yet 1 million people plus die of it every year. What's the answer to that contradiction? Why does it happen?
The answer to that contradiction, in one word, is resources. We just don't devote nearly enough resources. The great Ugandan Dr. Peter Mugeni said of HIV, where are the drugs? The drugs are where the disease is not. And where is the disease? The disease is where the drugs are not. And that's very much the case with TB. We have the cure, but we don't do a good job of getting the cure to where it's most needed.
And this book comes as the Trump administration dismantled U.S. aid. Now, if funding for TB programs abroad is cut, what do you think that could mean for U.S. and our research?
Well, it has been cut tremendously, and it's been devastating. Hundreds of thousands of people have seen their treatment interrupted, which we know means a skyrocketing chance of drug resistance. And we do not want drug-resistant tuberculosis circulating in communities at home or abroad. It's very dangerous. And we could live in a world where there's a totally drug-resistant form of TB, which should terrify us.
And USAID also supported data collection and monitored outbreaks around the world. How could that impact the U.S.?
Yeah, this is a huge issue. Many more people are going to die. One estimate holds that there's going to be an increase of about 30% of tuberculosis globally. But we won't be able to count the dead. We won't even know the size of the crisis.
But what's your response to the Trump administration that says they want to keep resources here, focusing on American healthcare, and they accuse USAID of being rife with fraud?
My response to that would be that the world does not, infectious disease does not know about political borders. We know that. We've experienced pandemics in our own lifetime. And tuberculosis anywhere is a threat to people everywhere. And so we need to be addressing this crisis like the crisis that it is, instead of pretending that we can somehow protect ourselves just with our political borders.
Because if tuberculosis goes up overseas, it'll go up here in the U.S.
And in fact, it already is going up here in the U.S. We're going to have over 10,000 cases of active tuberculosis this year in the United States.
I hope you've done your homework here, or at least reread your book, because we've got a pop quiz for you.
Oh, boy.
How is tuberculosis everything? Explain Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, like many American cities, was essentially founded as a tuberculosis colony. So was Pasadena, California. At the height of the tuberculosis crisis in the United States, there were almost as many hospital beds for TB patients as there were hospital beds for all other conditions combined.
Men's facial hair.
Oh, men's facial hair. The reason I'm clean-shaven today is because of the fear of the whisker. There was this fear that there were all these bacteria circulating in the whiskers.
The Beatles.
Ringo Starr became a drummer while he was in a sanatorium being treated for tuberculosis. And if you argue, as I believe, that Ringo is an essential Beatle, there's no Beatles without tuberculosis.
I love it.
You posted a video reuniting with Henry after returning to Sierra Leone in 2023, and you have kept in touch with him since. What has been the core of that friendship? What has it meant to you?
It means everything to me. He and I are very close friends. He's a junior at the University of Sierra Leone now, and he survived TB only because of extraordinary work by the Sierra Leonean government, by his doctors, by Partners in Health, and I'm so, so grateful that he's here with us. The world is so much better because Henry is with us, and that should be the story for everybody living with TB.
John Green, thank you so much for your work. This is such an important piece of nonfiction, and it brings all important attention to this. Everything is Tuberculosis is the name of the book, and it goes on sale tomorrow.